The IELTS test has been around for quite a while, and there are tons of prep resources and strategies available online. However, many students still fail to get the score they need on their first attempt. Why is that? First, many aren't familiar enough with the structure of the exam. They don't know what to expect on the day of the test and can't anticipate the traps the IELTS creators have prepared for them. The second problem is not knowing exactly what to do to get a high score. As part of our IELTS prep course, I evaluate students' speaking and writing responses. And what I can see is that many of them waste a lot of time not doing the right thing. Just to give you an example, if you stuff your speaking responses with too many academic and fancy words that you don't understand, you will never get a high score. Instead, it will lower your score. So very often, the people who come to my consultations are those who have a good level of English and can score high, but just don't know how to do it. Finally, your level of English is also important. For example, I often see students with an intermediate level trying to get a band 8 in 2 weeks of preparation. Unfortunately, that's highly unlikely, even though you can improve your score significantly by implementing various tips and strategies. You can't quickly attain a band 7, 8, or 9 if your level is poor. We've prepared a free PDF file with advanced vocabulary for speaking and writing. In fact, these words will help you improve your score in every section. You can find the link to the PDF in the description below. So, what should you do to get your dream score on the IELTS test? Hello and welcome to our IELTS preparation guide. My name is Anastasia. I got a band 9 on the IELTS test and have been helping students prepare for this exam for over 10 years. In this video, I'll walk you through the key points to help you excel on the IELTS exam and achieve the score you need. The first thing you need to do is decide which type of the IELTS test you want to take. There are two main types of IELTS: IELTS General Training and IELTS Academic. If you're not sure about the difference between the two, IELTS Academic is for people who want to study in an English-speaking country, while IELTS General Training is for those who want to live and work abroad. Simply put, IELTS Academic tests your ability to study in English, and IELTS General Training tests how well you can use English in everyday situations. Second, to score well in both the IELTS General and IELTS Academic tests, you need to be familiar with their structure. Both tests consist of 4 sections: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. The listening and speaking tests are the same for both IELTS Academic and IELTS General Training, but the reading and writing tests are slightly different. Let's take a quick look at what to expect on both tests. The listening section is the first section of the test. Again, it's the same for both IELTS General and IELTS Academic. It consists of 4 recorded monologues and conversations with 10 questions after each monologue or conversation. It usually takes 30 to 40 minutes. A very important note: you will only listen to the tape once, so you need to be very good at multitasking and answering the questions as you listen. Next comes the reading section, which is slightly different for the IELTS General and IELTS Academic tests. For both tests, this section lasts 60 minutes and consists of 3 parts, each more difficult than the one before. There are 40 questions in total, and the types of questions are the same for both tests. However, the main difference between the 2 tests is the number and length of the passages you have to read, as well as their topics. While the IELTS Academic has more challenging academic passages, the IELTS General Training has passages and topics related to everyday life and work. In the writing section, there are 2 essays for IELTS Academic and 1 essay and 1 letter for IELTS General. These are known as Task 1 and Task 2. Task 1 can be a letter or an analysis of a diagram, while Task 2 is a typical essay and is the same for both types of the test. Finally, the IELTS speaking section is divided into 3 parts. In Part 1, you will be asked questions on 2 different topics related to your life. In Part 2, you'll have 1 to 2 minutes to speak on a given topic. Part 3 lasts 4 to 5 minutes and includes more questions related to the main topic of Part 2. You'll have to give longer answers, often up to 1 minute or more, with many details. Now that you know about the 2 types of exams available and how they're structured, your next step is to carefully study all the question types you'll encounter in each section and strategies for approaching them effectively. This is a crucial step. Even native speakers struggle with the test if they don't have a good understanding of the question types. Unfortunately, we don't have time to cover the question types in this video because there are many of them, and each has its own strategy. Instead, I'll focus on the most important tips to help you succeed in the IELTS test. However, if your exam is approaching and you need more guidance, enroll in our IELTS prep course and learn everything you need to know about the test. You'll find all the information you require presented in a clear, understandable, and concise way. If you're interested in having your speaking and writing skills evaluated, choose the Pro package. The promo code link is in the description below. And of course, don't forget to practice. Consistent and focused practice is the key to IELTS success. Take full-length practice tests under exam conditions to simulate the real test environment. Be sure to choose your practice materials carefully and use official resources. Why do you need this? Because by practicing regularly, you'll not only get used to the structure of the test, but you'll also learn to apply all the strategies and tips effectively, and maybe even adapt some of them to suit you better. It's important to understand that even some of the most effective strategies that work for many students may not work for you. And the only way to find out is to take regular practice tests, apply different strategies, and see how your test score changes. Now, it's time for the tips and tricks. Tip 1. Choose the prep materials that suit your situation. If you plan to take a paper-based test, use authentic practice tests from Cambridge English Language Assessment. If you're taking a computer-based test, try the sample computer tests on IELTS.org before your exam. This way, you'll get used to the interface and won't make mistakes just because you're too stressed out. Tip 2. When practicing at home, always give yourself less time than IELTS allows. This will help you develop good time management skills. For example, instead of setting the timer for 60 minutes for the writing section, set it for 15 minutes. You'll never run out of time on test day if you practice this way. Tip 3. Learn to spell words. This is especially important for the listening section, but it will also be very helpful for the reading and writing section. Most of my students, even those whose listening skills are excellent, often lose points on the IELTS listening section simply because they misspell words. For example, they might write L-I-E-S-U-R-E instead of L-E-I-S-U-R-E, or P-E-R-S-O-N-E-L instead of P-E-R-S-O-N-N-E-L. Unfortunately, IELTS doesn't give points for such answers, even if the answer itself is correct. Don't make the same mistake and prepare in advance. Look for lists of commonly misspelled words on the internet. For example, type 100 most commonly misspelled words PDF into the search engine. Translate the words from the list into your native language, and then check that you know how to spell them correctly. None of my students have ever done this exercise without finding at least a few words they don't know how to spell. Tip 4. Work on reading strategies. As you may have guessed, this is relevant to tackling the IELTS reading section. So, in addition to learning the question types and strategies for them, you should study and then work on reading strategies. The 2 most common ones are skimming and scanning. In simple words, skimming means looking quickly at the text to get a general idea of what it's about. For example, you might skim the synopsis of a movie to decide whether or not you want to see it. Now, scanning is about searching text for specific information or keywords. You don't read everything. Instead, you look for keywords, phrases, or numbers that match what you're looking for. Mastering these strategies will help you find the right answers faster and ensure you stay within the time limit. Tip 5. Study the assessment criteria for the speaking and writing sections. To find them, simply type IELTS Combined Assessment Criteria PDF into the search engine. The first result you'll get is a PDF file with tables explaining the assessment criteria. There are 4 assessment criteria for the speaking section: fluency and coherence, lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy, and pronunciation. There are also 4 assessment criteria for the writing section: task achievement, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, and grammatical range and accuracy. Why is this important? It's because you need to understand what the examiner is looking for in your answer in order to get a high score. For example, does frequent repetition matter in your speaking response? Does punctuation matter in your writing response? The scoring criteria answer all of these questions. Tip 6 is about speaking. You see, to speak fluently and coherently on a variety of topics, you need to learn to connect your ideas smoothly and avoid hesitations and pauses. One of the ways to do this is to add logical connectors to your speech. These include conjunctions, prepositions, and transitions. To practice, make a list of them. For example, even though, while, as a result, unless, as soon as, consequently, and then think of ways to incorporate them into your speech. Do this every time you practice the speaking part. Record yourself and make sure these words sound natural, not forced. With practice, they'll become an integral part of your speech. Tip 7. Use complex, compound, and complex compound sentences in the writing section. Learning to do this is a game changer. It will increase your score for grammatical range and accuracy, which makes up 25% of your writing score. And it'll help you avoid punctuation mistakes. I'm planning a separate video on this topic, so if you're interested, subscribe to our channel to be notified. Remember, achieving a high score on the IELTS exam is not an impossible feat. With dedication, perseverance, and strategic preparation, you can accomplish your goal. Keep practicing, stay focused, and believe in yourself. Also, seek feedback. Ask a teacher, tutor, or language partner for feedback on your speaking and writing. They can provide valuable insights and suggestions for improvement. You can also join our course and choose the Pro package to schedule a consultation with me. During the consultation, I will evaluate your speaking and writing performance and tell you what you need to do to get a high score. Thanks for watching, and good luck on your IELTS journey.